back with my second video to document my attempt at tackling the January challenge. Of course, we're keeping it light because we're still recovering from the year-end activities and all the holiday gatherings. So there were only two things on the agenda for this month. First, to do the entire year's budget, and then set up some kind of expense tracking mechanism so you could see where all your money is going. Now, starting with the budget. So I did my budget for the whole year, which was a victory, and I broke it down into four parts. The first part is fixed expenses, variable expenses, sinking funds, and then savings. Now, before I start and get into the details, I'd like to say that we live in a high cost of living area, so the numbers might seem high to someone who lives in a, say, more affordable part of the country, but that doesn't mean that we're wasteful. So I just want to be clear about that. Now, jumping right into it. So fixed expenses really speaks for itself. So I'll only highlight the things that might stand out. So evidently I have my mortgage, daycare, cell phone bills, medical bills. I should probably talk about that one too, but that's another story for another day. Cable, internet, travel. I just realized I made a mistake. Travel really should be more under sinking funds, but I'll let it slide because what's done is done. But as far as the things that aren't necessarily um, super similar to the other expenses, so starting with dental and vision. So, for example, that one, it is a fixed cost, but it doesn't run monthly. It's something that we pay on a quarterly basis. And unlike, the regular health insurance, it doesn't come out of the paycheck pre-tax. It's something that we pay um, afterwards individually. We just get a bill for it quarterly. Um, so nails and spa. All right, so that one might seem really high, but that would account for me doing my hair, my husband getting a haircut, um, me getting my nails done, and waxing. So you put all of that together, it might add up to about that much per month. But like typically it doesn't. So there's typically some money left over. And then if we get into excise taxes, so where we live, you pay tax on large personal property. So like if you have a boat or something, we don't have a boat. This is solely for our vehicles. So we have two cars, and that is an expense that only comes up once a year. And typically, the bill comes out in February, and then you have about a month to pay it off. So any time between the time you get that bill and the month of March is when you pay that. It's not optional, although I'm not entirely sure what happens to you if you don't do it. So, but I'm not gonna find out. So I'm gonna keep paying it and I'm gonna keep adding it to my budget. Also, that 225 amount, it's not an even split between the two vehicles. It's actually the newer your vehicle is, the more it is. So um, it's since there's a little bit of an age difference between our two cars, one car is more expensive than the other. So as far as the car registration, it is $90. Again, that is for two vehicles. And that is an expense that only comes up once a year. And then where we live, we also have to do a car inspection. That is something else that only comes up once a year. Now, professional certificate renewal, that is something that I do for my own. Um, One of the certifications that I have does have to be periodically renewed, and I budget for that annually. Membership, professional membership, that's $126 per quarter. Again, that is budgeted. There's a total budgeted amount for it at the end of the year, but again, that is something that is billed quarterly. It is a fixed amount, but it is billed quarterly. For the credit card fees, so the higher amount, this one is for the Chase Sapphire Reserve. That one comes due every March, and that is because my husband has a card and I'm an authorized user. So um, the authorized user is an extra $75. And then in July, we get the Amex Gold that comes due every July. Now, moving on to the next category, that is subscriptions. And for subscriptions, those are fixed amounts, but I keep them separate because I know that subscriptions can get away from people, and it is very easy to lose track of them. I guess the, people are having so many subscriptions now with different video streaming services that are competing with each other that it's essentially adding up to the same amount as when people used to have cable. And I've seen a couple of different memes online about how much people are paying in subscriptions. So I didn't want to be a butt of those jokes. So I decided to keep track of my subscriptions. Now, that's probably about as high as a cable bill. However, they're not all streaming services. First one you can see is Prime. Um, the second one is BJ's, which is a wholesale club. I'm sure most people probably know what BJ's is all about, but that is it is super popular in the Northeast. In the Northeast, at least where I live in New England, BJ's outnumber Costco about three, if not 4 to 1. So um, I've only ever seen one Costco in my immediate shopping area, and then there are like 3 or 4 BJ's I can go to within a 10 to 15 mile radius. And then the other one is a subscription to the Washington Post because I like quality journalism, and I'm not going to subscribe to everything, but given that you can get a decent price for Washington Post if you are a Prime member, I decided to opt for Washington Post over something else like um, New York Times or something of the sort. But again, these are annual fees. So once a year, uh, put in the January column. And then for variable expenses, those are a little bit all over the place given a number of different circumstances. So I'm going to start off with heating. So again, I'm in the Northeast, so it's cold, it's snowy, and I have the misfortune of having um, uh, of heating my house with oil. Now, oil is expensive. Energy prices have gone up. I don't think anybody's spared, but we're probably more directly affected. There are specific ways that we can try and keep our heating costs down, but it is what it is. I budgeted $400 a month for this. Although if that seems really high, in some ways it is, but if you look at it, it stops. So the way it works is they come in and they give you a delivery, and that delivery lasts between 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how cold it is. Obviously, January and February are going to be really cold, so they're going to come a little bit more often, and then it starts getting spaced out in March and April. But then once you get to April, you're not really going to have, um, you're not going to be using your heating anymore because that last delivery that you get, and then it starts getting very nice weather, and then the summer hits, so you get a final tank in April that they bill you for, and then suddenly you go the whole summer, you don't use it, and then at some point in November, um you might turn on your heating, and once you turn that on, you'll probably need another refill at some point in December, for which you will be billed. So although it is $400 a month, um, on my sheet here, you'll see that the total budgeted amount is only approximately 2,000 for the whole year. Household items that constitute, things like cleaning supplies, toilet paper, um, paper products and things like that. Gasoline. So we do have two cars. We don't go out as much as we used to because we're not commuting to work anymore. We're both working from home. However, we do, unlike when before a kid was in daycare or before we had a kid, where if we work from home, we'd really be in the house all day, except for maybe one day to go out or maybe one day on the weekends. Now we're dropping a kid off at daycare every day and we're still going out on the weekend occasionally. So we're doing about $100, but that's for two cars. That's filling up two cars every month. Um, Groceries. So we are a family. So I like to joke that we are a family of three and a half because it's my husband, myself, or a toddler, and then my mom lives with us. But she largely takes supports herself, but she's there, so she eats whatever food is available with us. So really, we have four people approximately eating in the house, so $400 a month, which I don't know. I don't think it's too bad. It's actually pretty decent, but then that's not, sadly, that is not the total food budget because we do also like to eat out. And you'll see that number shortly. Baby items are things that don't really fall under the category of household items. So that would be things like diapers and wipes and like his special wipe for cleaning his toys or cleaning his chair when he's done eating, things like that. um and we have to have that both at the house and at the daycare, so we do use a little bit more of it. And then personal care items, that would be soap, shampoo, lotion, for um, everybody who needs it, and everybody kind of uses their own. So, and then dining out, this is probably kind of egregious, but like I said, we do like to eat out a little bit, and not so much that we like, well, we like it because we like the variety, but also we are busy, so we might not necessarily have time to make lunch. So if we have dinner, we'll have the same meal for 2 nights. So the meal that is made on Sunday, we'll eat it on Sunday, and then we'll also eat it for dinner on Monday. But we can't eat it for lunch on Monday because now you're having the same meal 3 times in a row. So we might order lunch. Um, Things, situations like that do come up. The next is water and sewer. So water and sewer does vary because it vary based on usage, but it averages approximately $150 a quarter. So that is billed quarterly. And then I wanted to talk about electric a little bit. So electric is very similar to oil because it depends on season. Now, when you look at this electric bill, it might seem high, but before I start, I want to say, for starters, that um, we have we we because we heat our house with oil, that means we don't have like a propane, well, we do have propane for a fireplace, but we don't have like a propane stove, and we don't have a natural gas line going to our house. That means that if we make food, we're also using like an electric stove. If we're baking anything of the sort, that kind of goes with that. And also we're working from home, meaning that our computers are on, we have our personal computers or work computers, and then we're home all the time. So that would explain a little bit higher than average electric bill. But there's something else. So you'll notice that for the electric bill, I have $150 for January and February. I have 100 in March, and then I have nothing in April, and then I don't really have anything else until December. So even though the initial budget is approximately 150, the budgeted total for the year is less than $500. So the reason for that is because we have solar panels on our house, and the panels were designed and configured to cover nearly 100% of our electric bill usage. Now, the good thing about the solar panel, which is also the bad thing about the solar panels, the good thing about it is that it's powered by the sun. So since it's powered by the sun, you're not really dependent on outside forces to give you power. Well, the drawback with that is when you live in the Northeast, in the winter, the days are really short. And then you have the added challenge of having the potential that snow might cover your roof periodically if it does snow a significant amount. Now, that means in January, when it gets dark at 3 or 4 o'clock and we are home, so not only are we turning on the lights, so we're using up more lights, we also have the disadvantage of having fewer hours of sunlight. So that would be why January, February, and March are higher for the electric bill. Now, when you hit April, the days start getting longer, you have no snow, or you have a less um, chance of having snow, and then you end up not having a bill because it kind of rolls back. Now, this is where it gets really good. In the summertime, you have really long sunny days, and with those really long sunny days, despite the fact that we run the air conditioning, not only do we not get a bill, but we actually soak up more sun than we use up electricity. That means even though in October it starts getting dark and in November it starts getting dark, all of the sun and all of the kilowatt hours that we did not use get rolled over from month to month to month, and then we end up with a credit that we use down in November, and then typically we use some of the credit in December, but the leftover credit is not sufficient to cover the full bill, and then we typically get a smaller bill in December. So it does even out to some extent. And then the next one is dry cleaning and laundry. So that would be, dry cleaning clothes that we can't wash. We can't wash in the washing machine. And we do have a laundry in the house, but really heavy duty blankets, we take them periodically. We will take them to um, a laundromat where we will wash them in those big commercial dry washers and dryers that are like $7 a pop. The idea is that you don't want to put something in the washer that will break in the spin cycle, because it's so heavy. So we have those really big, thick, fuzzy blankets that we wash outside if need be. Um, Honestly, this amount is really generous because I have been working at home for approximately 2 years since the start of the pandemic. I don't have a lot of clothes to dry clean, and that is very similar to what my husband's situation. Um, I've been in my sweatpants, my bathrobe. I've been working really comfortably. So it would be a lie to say that um, I I have a lot of clothes that are being dry cleaned at the moment. This is probably overly ambitious or overly conservative, and I suspect that I'm gonna come under that amount. And then when it comes to parking, um, I live in the suburbs, so when you go somewhere, you just park, but I'm also very close to a really large metro area. So I always have to prepare for the possibility that I might go downtown once or twice and then might have to pay to park somewhere, anywhere from like, as low as $10 on the weekend to, 25 or $30 on a weekday. If I do go somewhere for work, my work reimburses me, so that doesn't account for that. But that assumes that this assumes that I go into the city once a month, um, in the middle of the week of my own accord. And then when it comes to sinking funds, so I have landscaping, home repairs, auto repairs, and gifts. So landscaping, it's not a flat fee. It really varies, and it what we pay for depends on what time of year it is. So for example, we will do fall cleanup in the fall, we will do a spring cleanup, We will do gutter cleanings. Again, guess that's the beauty of being in the north. Those beautiful red and orange leaves that turn from green to those beautiful autumn colors, they eventually die and fall, and then they will block your gutters. And your gutters are really important to keeping water away from your roof and water away from your property. So we have to get them cleaned. And then they also look very unsightly in the front on the front lawn. So we have to get a fall cleanup and then a spring cleanup, and then in the summer we mow, and then in the winter time somebody plows the driveway. So again, it varies, but I have added it up approximately to be approximately $5,400 a year. So I averaged it out over the 12 months. And then there are some months where really in the dead of winter, so if it's really cold but there is no snow, that we don't pay for anything. So that money accumulates for a bit until we have to um, make a payment until something happens. As far as home repairs, so we have done a lot of renovations since we've purchased the house. We have been here about 6 years, and we have done, I would say, on average, one thing per year. And when I say one thing, I mean like a major update, a major renovation per year since we have been in here. However, it doesn't mean that little things don't come up. So I don't like to be caught unprepared. So I put aside approximately $500 in the sinking fund for home repairs. Under an ideal circumstance, nothing breaks. I keep all of that money. Or even if something breaks, we can cash flow it. So then I roll that money over into like a house updated or house renovation fund. And then based on how much we have, we'll pick one thing that needs to be done in the house. So, we've redone a bathroom, we've redone a kitchen, we have updated some flooring by removing carpet and putting down hardwood. So the money does get used up. And then in an ideal situation, we're really going to be using up the money to do a major update rather than constantly having to do home repairs. Um, but it doesn't mean that we haven't, like, we had a plumbing issue that we ended up having to fix in the kitchen because there was some kind of leak. So stuff does come up, but ideally, it's not a lot. And then auto repairs, um, if a car was costing me $250 a month, I would absolutely just drop it off at the junkyard. But couple things to remember. The first is that this is for two cars, and then this really is everything you can imagine. So whether it is something as small as doing the changing the oil, doing a tire rotation, to something as major as getting your tires replaced, getting your brakes replaced. It does add up. So this is approximately $3,000 a year. And if we don't use it, we roll it over to the next year because if nothing came up this year, something sure will come up the following year. And then the final category is savings. Um, Savings, so we both max out our 401ks. This is not the true monthly number because evidently we get paid bi-weekly, so that's 26 paychecks a year. Um, so it's not a true reflection, but I wanted to put this in here to illustrate what we um, hope to get at the end of the year. Um, so the IRS maximum for 2022 for employer sponsored plans is 20,500. So that means we're averaging a little bit over, so $1,708 and some change every uh every every month, but really it comes out to like 780 or something like that per paycheck. Now, I want to say that my so for my husband's 401k, he gets a match. So I am very careful about making sure that his contributions are set up so that he does not put more money into his account before the year is over. So I make sure that it is evenly spread out for the whole year down to the last paycheck, because we don't want to miss out on that 5% match. And some places have what they call a true up, where if at the end of the year you miss out on your match because you front loaded your contribution, they will give you a they will make you whole, but his employer does not have that. So that means if he front loaded his contributions, he would miss out on whatever remaining balance of the matches. And I love free money. I would never do anything that would cause him to lose out on free money. However, in my case, my employer doesn't even have a match. So that means when I contribute to my 401k, there is nothing stopping me from just putting $19,500 on day one. Nothing, except for the fact that I need the cash flow. But other than that, there is no reason for me not to do that. So what I do, again, like I said, this was designed to illustrate a budget for the rest of the year. So this is not 100% correct month to month, but it is correct for the total for the year. So what I did was I set it up so that my contributions are completed within the first 16 or 17 paychecks for the year. So I actually do a little over $1,200 a paycheck for my contribution. So then that means I will actually be maxed out for the year in July or August, and then I will get um all my money for the rest of the year, but I don't get a match, so I have nothing to lose by doing that. And if you are wondering why I would pick that option, well, the reason is because um the idea is that I don't know if you've heard that saying, that time in the market beats timing the market, meaning the longer you've been invested, the better your returns are going to be, because you have time on your side, you have dividends, and etc. So I think it works for me to get all of my money into my account as quickly as possible. And then the next category are IRAs for both of us. Uh, you can see it's spread out as $500 for the month, and it's spread out as $500 a month for the rest of the year for each of us, adding up to $6,000 a year, which is the IRS max. Honestly, I will probably max out at least one, if not both, of these accounts um, very soon. I would be surprised if by June we don't have both account maxed out. And then the next one is the 529, which is for our little one. That is $500 a month. Now, for this one, it is very possible that we just do $500 a month rather than front loading it um, to the account. But the end result, again, is the same. We're doing $6,000 a year. And then brokerage is $1,500 a month, because at the end of last year, I decided that I wanted to put at least $18,000 into a brokerage account for 2022, and 18,000 divided by 12 happens to be 1,500. Why 18,000? Honestly, I don't know. It just seemed like a nice round number that was divisible by 12, so I went with it. And then the last one is the FSA. And the FSA is the health savings account. We're not doing the dependent care one for reasons that I can't even really get into right now. And I am doing $75 a paycheck, which will add up to $1,950. But again, because I wanted a nice, neat number every month, I did it as 163. I know I am fully aware that that means that we're not maxing it out. However, um, I have reasons for that because I don't really want to be in a position where I have to forfeit those funds at the end of the year. So I have to be very cautious with the amount that I put in. Um, I don't want to put too much to the point that I end up losing it. And then I have this category here that I didn't fill in, which is cash. And really anything that is left over after we, um, you know, fill those, like, we do those expenses, or we pay these bills, and or we do these, um, we save this money. Anything that is left over is going to be um, added to our cash position, and I will determine if the amount is um, needs to be added to an emergency fund, if it needs to be saved towards a medium term purchase that we're considering in the near future, maybe like a down payment on another car, or if we don't have any immediate plans for it, but I don't want it to be eroded by inflation, I might just wait for it to add up to approximately um, $10,000, and then I will go ahead and maybe buy some I bonds to get a better rate that I would get if it was um, in a high yield savings account. So this is it. This is the budget for 2022. This is the proposed budget for 2022. My plan would be, um, ideally, I would be sticking to that because that is pretty close to what we do actually spend. It's pretty realistic. And if I need to make major changes, I will certainly do an update. And I look forward to hearing from you and seeing what you guys are working on for this coming year and what you're doing to make sure that you get your finances in order.